Chapter 12. The Murder of Patricia Beard. In the United States, the most vulnerable of its citizens are not only protected by the government, but also given assistance. Mentally and physically disabled individuals are often housed in group homes, where mental health professionals can look after them, and at the same time the residents are encouraged to take jobs in the community in order to realize their full potential. These group homes are safe havens for people with disabilities, as they offer places where the disabled can learn real-world skills as well as live in safety from the often cruel outside world. Unfortunately for 32-year-old Patricia Beard, a Denver group home could not protect her from the cruel clutches of a killer in 1981. Patricia Beard was mentally disabled, but also what health care professionals would term a high-functioning individual who could work and interact in the larger community. The Denver group home where she lived was one that was there to help its residents with their medications, jobs, and other daily functions, but it was also a home that stressed independence and therefore gave the residents a certain amount of freedom. Since Patricia Beard was a high-functioning resident, staff members of the group home thought nothing when they did not see her for a couple of days. It was a group home, not a jail or halfway house, and its residents could come and go as they pleased. After a couple of more days, Patricia's friends and family started to worry when she did not answer her phone, so one of them went to her apartment and made a grisly discovery. Patricia Beard was found dead in her room on March 27, 1981. An investigation of the room by Denver homicide investigators revealed that Beard was strangled to death, and the fact that she was half-naked led them to believe that she was also raped. Vaginal swabs were later taken that confirmed that Patricia was raped before she was killed. The investigation then turned to creating a list of suspects, but the police were soon discouraged as they met several dead ends. Staff at the group home reported seeing no strangers come to the home, and all residents and workers at the home were quickly cleared. After searching the exterior of the group home, officers determined that the killer crawled into Beard's first-floor apartment through a window. Homicide detectives then believed that the killer was a stranger, but probably someone with a record for burglary, sexual assault, or both. Police began their investigation by searching through all their records of burglars and sex offenders whose methods of operations matched the Beard murder. They were quickly let down when no credible matches were made. Unfortunately, no fingerprints of the killer were lifted from the crime scene, but samples of semen were taken from Beard's vagina and mouth. The biological evidence was stored in an evidence locker where it sat for 20 years. The Denver Cold Case Unit. The term, cold case, has become such a ubiquitous term in the modern lexicon that few today do not know what it means. Both fictional and documentary television shows that focus on police departments using forensics to capture killers in cases that took place years prior and are therefore considered cold or popular fare. Many of these shows depict the work as glamorous, but the reality is that is often tedious, time-consuming, and just plain difficult. As depicted on some of these shows, over the last 15 years, as the science of DNA profiling has progressed with the CODIS system, many police departments have created cold case units to solve murders like Patricia Beard's. The Denver Cold Case Unit has proved to be one of the best in the world. The Denver Police Department's Cold Case Unit investigates both unsolved rapes and murders. The result is that the unit has solved more cold cases than any other similar unit in the world. With such an elite unit working on Patricia Beard's murder, it was only a matter of time until her killer was captured. But first the unit had to get the case, which almost did not happen. After Patricia Beard's apartment was processed, all of the items relevant to the case, such as the rape kit, were cataloged and then stored in the evidence locker at the Denver Police Department. There the evidence sat for 13 years until most of it, with the exception of vaginal swabs, was destroyed to make room from other cases. 1994 would prove to be an important year in the Patricia Beard case, not just because potential DNA evidence was saved, but also because that was the year that the Cody's database went online. In 2005, the Denver Police Department's Crime Lab and the Denver District Attorney's Office were selected to take part in a national study that investigated the impact of DNA profiling in the Cody's database on cold cases. With that, the Denver Cold Case Unit was born. As the unit moved through the remainder of the 2000s and into the 2010s solving cold cases, a detective rediscovered the rape kit from the Patricia Beard murder. Officers entered the evidence into the Cody's system, and in 2013 a match came back for a man named Hector Bencomo-Hinojosa. Bencomo-Hinojosa was doing time in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, which therefore required him to give a sample of his DNA profile to the Cody's database. Although the DNA match meant that Bencomo-Hinojosa had been sexually intimate with Beard, it did not necessarily mean that he killed or even raped her. The Denver Cold Case Unit would have to conduct a more thorough investigation of their suspect. A background check of Bencomo-Hinojosa revealed that he was a known criminal and thief who had up until that point avoided doing any major prison time. He was also known to be extremely violent. His wife said that he would routinely threaten and beat her for the slightest indiscretions, and he often carried a knife. Denver police then traveled to Pennsylvania to interview their captive suspect and, as it turns out, Bencomo-Hinojosa's own words proved to be the last nails in his legal coffin. Bencomo-Hinojosa admitted to the authorities that he lived in Denver for several years beginning around 1977 and that he was probably living in the city in 1981, although he was evasive with his answers. The Cold Case Unit detectives then asked Bencomo-Hinojosa if he knew Beard, which he answered in the negative. The police then gave their subject one last chance at a way out by showing him a picture of Beard, who was black, and asking him if it were possible that he had sex with the woman. Bencomo-Hinojosa vehemently denied ever having sex with Beard and added that he had never had sex with a black woman. The police caught Bencomo-Hinojosa in a lie that the man's own DNA sample could verify. In 2015, at the age of 55, Hector Bencomo-Hinojosa was sentenced to 48 years in Colorado's Department of Corrections, which will more than likely amount to a life sentence for the middle-aged murderer. Bencomo-Hinojosa's conviction proved to be a milestone as it was the 100th case solved by the Denver Police Department's Cold Case Unit.